Welcome to TechEyeSpy, where we look beneath the surface of tomorrow's technology companies and study the stories shaping their future. Today, we turn our attention to a company operating at the very edge of human-machine interaction, Wearable Devices Limited. Listed on the NASDAQ under the ticker WLDS, this is an Israeli technology firm with a bold promise: to let you control your digital world with the slightest movement of your fingers without touching a screen, a mouse, or even a controller. Imagine scrolling through your phone, controlling a robot arm, or navigating a virtual reality world, all through neural signals and subtle gestures. That is the dream behind Wearable Devices, and while the company remains small, it sits inside one of the fastest-moving technology sectors in the world. This episode will examine the company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, giving investors and innovators alike a clearer view of where this ambitious startup might be heading. Wearable Devices is built on a genuinely original idea: the control of digital systems through neural signals from the hand. Their flagship product, the Mudra Band, interprets tiny electrical impulses generated when a person moves their fingers. It turns these impulses into precise digital commands that can be used to control computers, smartphones, and even augmented or virtual reality devices. This kind of technology has long been a dream of both the gaming and healthcare industries, where frictionless interaction could change everything from accessibility to immersion. The company's location in Israel also plays a major role in its strength. Israel's technology ecosystem is dense with innovation, particularly in sensor engineering, miniaturized electronics, and artificial intelligence. This environment allows Wearable Devices to collaborate with advanced research partners and talent pools that many early-stage firms could never reach. Another advantage lies in its intellectual property. Wearable Devices holds multiple patents protecting its proprietary algorithms and signal interpretation methods. These patents create a form of technical moat that may prevent larger companies from simply copying their gesture-based control systems without licensing agreements. From a market perspective, timing is everything, and this may be the right moment. As consumer electronics expand toward augmented reality and spatial computing, the need for natural intuitive control interfaces becomes critical. Apple's Vision Pro, Meta's Quest line, and similar headsets all rely on the idea that touchless input will become standard. In that light, Wearable Devices' neural interface could be positioned as a supplier or licensor to these major platforms rather than a competitor. Perhaps most compelling of all is the sense of human imagination behind the project. Wearable Devices is not just building a product. It is exploring how humans might one day interact with machines as naturally as they do with one another. For investors and technology watchers alike, that ambition has value. It shows a company driven more by purpose than by imitation. Weaknesses. The first and most obvious weakness of Wearable Devices is its scale. This is a very small company, by every measure a microcap listed on the NASDAQ, with annual revenues barely above $80,000 and a market presence that remains almost invisible outside specialist circles. That level of income would not even cover a single engineer's salary at one of the major technology firms it hopes to one day partner with. Such limited revenue means constant pressure to raise new funds, often through share dilution, which can erode investor confidence over time. The second issue lies in commercial readiness. While the Mudra Band demonstrates impressive engineering, it has yet to prove itself as a mass-market product. Consumers are still hesitant to adopt unfamiliar control methods, especially those requiring calibration, training, or learning new gestures. This creates a gap between the company's vision and everyday usability, one that can take years of refinement to close. Another weakness is the lack of brand recognition. In the wearable space, trust and familiarity are everything. Competitors such as Apple, Samsung, Fitbit, and Garmin have spent years convincing consumers that their devices are reliable, safe, and accurate. Wearable devices must somehow break through that wall of recognition without the marketing power or distribution networks that established brands enjoy. There is also the question of production and support. Scaling hardware manufacturing is expensive and logistically complex. Every sensor, every band, and every chip must meet strict quality standards, and even minor inconsistencies can destroy reputation quickly. A single product recall could bankrupt a company of this size. Finally, the firm's dependence on emerging technologies, such as neural input and spatial computing, ties its success to markets that are still speculative. If consumer enthusiasm for augmented or virtual reality stalls, the entire product ecosystem of wearable devices could find itself without a clear customer base. Opportunities. Wearable devices exists at the crossroads of several major technological revolutions. Its neural input system is not just a gadget, it represents a potential new language between humans and machines. The company's biggest opportunity is to position itself as a foundational player in the interface layer of the next computing era. Whether that comes through augmented reality, mixed reality, robotics, or prosthetic assistance. The augmented and virtual reality sector alone provides a vast opportunity. As spatial computing becomes mainstream, companies such as Apple, Meta, and Microsoft will all compete to make their headsets more natural to use. A partnership or licensing deal with even one of these giants could instantly transform wearable devices from a speculative stock into a critical supplier. Their Mudra Band already integrates with the Apple Watch, and that kind of compatibility is a crucial strategic foothold in an ecosystem dominated by one of the world's most valuable brands. The medical and accessibility markets also open remarkable potential. Gesture and neural control systems could become tools for individuals who have limited mobility or speech, offering new ways to interact with computers and smart environments. This is not a science fiction scenario. Rehabilitation devices and assistive technologies are increasingly blending neuroscience with digital control. Wearable devices research could feed directly into this sector, especially if it secures partnerships with hospitals, universities, or rehabilitation specialists. Beyond health, there are industrial and military possibilities. Neural gesture control could allow technicians, pilots, or soldiers to command complex systems without taking their eyes or hands off their main tasks. In environments where every second counts, that kind of hands-free control could become invaluable. Finally, the global investor appetite for human-machine interface companies is rising fast. Funding in neurotechnology, brain-computer interfaces, and gesture systems has grown steadily as investors search for the next major frontier after artificial intelligence. Even if wearable devices remain small, its intellectual property and early technical lead could make it an attractive acquisition target in the years ahead. Threats. Wearable devices faces a landscape where innovation alone is rarely enough to survive. The most immediate threat is competition from large technology firms that already dominate the wearable and interface markets. Companies like Apple, Meta, Google, and Sony have the resources to replicate, acquire, or outpace any small player that shows promise. If these giants decide to integrate neural input directly into their own ecosystems, they could simply absorb the market before wearable devices reaches scale. Another major threat lies in consumer adoption. Gesture and neural interfaces may excite engineers and futurists, but mainstream audiences tend to be cautious. People trust what they can touch, not what they can only imagine. If users struggle to understand or calibrate these devices, enthusiasm can evaporate quickly. The danger is not that the technology fails, but that it is misunderstood or seen as unnecessary. Financial fragility is another constant risk. Companies operating at this size live quarter to quarter. A single delayed payment, supply issue, or failed fundraising round could threaten survival. Listing on the NASDAQ gives visibility, but it also exposes the firm to volatility, short sellers, and speculative trading that can distort its true value. Privacy and regulation form subtler threats. A system that reads neural signals, even at a superficial level, raises immediate ethical and legal questions. How is that data stored? Could it be hacked or misused? As governments begin to regulate neurotechnology and biometric data more strictly, compliance costs could rise sharply. There is also the pace of technological change. Competing input systems from voice to eye tracking to full brain-computer interfaces are evolving quickly. A small company can be overtaken by a new standard overnight, especially if a dominant firm sets a proprietary format. In short, Wearable Devices is trying to build the bridge between today's screens and tomorrow's mind-controlled future. But the gap is wide, and many others are racing to cross it. Conclusion: Wearable Devices Limited stands as a fascinating case study in ambition. It is a company that dares to reach for the next human interface before the rest of the world realizes how much it might need one. Its Mudra Band and neural input system represent a kind of quiet revolution, a shift from tapping screens and pressing buttons to commanding technology with pure intention. Yet it also serves as a reminder of how fragile early innovation can be. Great ideas in hardware are expensive to prove, harder still to scale, and almost impossible to protect without deep financial backing. Wearable Devices sits on the edge of that knife, poised between breakthrough and obscurity. For investors and technologists, the story is not only about potential profit, but about the direction in which the human interface is heading. The dream of seamless control, whether in augmented reality, medicine, or accessibility, will not vanish, even if one company falls short. Someone will build it. And perhaps this small Israeli pioneer will have laid the intellectual foundations for that future. Thanks for watching TechEyeSpy. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Every view helps support independent analysis of the technology shaping our world. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and keep your eyes on the future.